Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Pigskin Addicts here, back again with another video. I just wanted to come on here and make this quick video to tell all of us Charger fans, we must adjust. We must adjust our expectations. We must do what the Chargers are not doing. We got to adjust our expectations. This team is not the team that we thought they were. It's clear. It's clear and obvious. This is week 7. After the bye week, it's week 8. You are officially halfway through the season. This is the team that we have, right? This is the Chargers team that we have. This is the offense. This is the defense. And anything short of a firing, right? Short of a firing with Joe Lombardi, anything short of a firing with Brandon Staley or any of the other, major components, any of the major, players as far as coaching staff goes, anything short of that, this is still going to be the team that we have. So we just have to deal with it and we have to adjust our expectations. This team is disappointing. I know, I get it. But at this point, we must adjust our expectations. Now, the Chargers, they're still 4-3, right? They're still 4-3 on paper. That looks good. But we have seen enough of this team to know that this 4-3 is a little bit fugazi, as they say, right? It's fake. This is fraud. We're a 4-3 fraud. So, with that being said, the Chargers, they're going to... I think that they're going to try to bring in some guys, maybe some receivers. Maybe they tweak the roster a little bit. Maybe they do some, small adjustments. Maybe they start somebody here, bench somebody there. But all of it is going to be for now, right? And again, like I said in the live stream last night after the game, I tried to be Mr. Positive and all of that stuff, but it's not working. It's not working. It doesn't matter how positive your fans are if your team is not good. If ownership isn't good, if coaching isn't good, if none of the stuff comes together on the field, you can be as positive as you want to be, but your team is going to get their teeth kicked in. And that's what happened to the Chargers yesterday, obviously. Now, again, the adjustments, the tweaks, all of that stuff can be made. And some fans are going to get excited about it. But the major thing that I want anybody who's watching this video, if you're a Charger fan, the major thing I want you to take away from this is the Chargers have no identity. And if you look at any team, any good team, they all have identities, right? Even if they're struggling, they all have identities. So where adjustments, roster tweaking, all of that stuff is going to be all for naught because there's no identity. What do the Chargers do well? If you're a Charger fan, let me ask you this. What do the Chargers do well, right? In the Brandon Staley era, 25 games in, what do the Chargers do well outside of Justin Herbert's heroics? I want people to answer that in the comments, if you will. What do the Chargers do well? Nothing, right? Outside of Justin Herbert's heroics, you look at last year, he had a historic season. This year, he's obviously struggling. The injury is obviously playing a very, very big role. He's a quiet guy. He's not going to say anything, and he's not going to blame his play on the injury. But I can tell that he's not 100%. He's not completely right. And this offense is predictable. They come out and they do the same thing every week. There's no variations to it. And just like I said on the live stream last night, teams do not have to work that hard to know what the Chargers are going to do. They come out in the same formations. They run the exact same plays. And most of them are short plays. DBs can be extra aggressive. You know that a receiver is not going to run past you. You can be extra aggressive. And it's up to Justin Herbert to be perfect to fit the ball in a very, very tight window to a defensive back who is playing extremely aggressive because he knows that he's not going to get beat downfield. So that's a recipe for disaster. And obviously this is disaster now. We're in disaster mode now. Don't let the 4-3 fool you. We're in disaster mode. This is not a good team. There's no identity here. So when you do not have an identity and you have a coach like Brandon Staley who didn't establish an identity, his identity last year was going for it on 4th down, taking risk. That's not an identity. That is just a risky coach. That's not an identity. You cannot build the team off that. You can't do that every single game. You cannot, come into seasons thinking that you're going to do that. That's not an identity. That's just him being risky. Your identity is what you do on the field. It is what you do well. It is what you are known for. It is the signature style of play. And the Chargers do not have that. They don't have it, and they haven't had it in this entire Brandon Staley era, right? I mean, they really didn't even have it in the Anthony Lynn era as well. The Chargers lack identity. All they have is a star quarterback, right? Star quarterback. Now you have some pretty good guys on defense as well too, but there's no identity. What do? Do they rush the passer well? every now and then, but it's not a part of the Chargers' identity. Do they stop the run? No, they don't do that. They're doing that at a worse clip than they did last year, which was historically bad. So they obviously don't do that. Do they run the ball well? No, they don't run the ball well. They just completely abandon and ignore the run. Again, outside of Justin Herbert's heroics, outside of his raw talent as a quarterback, the Chargers have no identity. So what we seen yesterday, this is going to happen again. It's just going to happen again because there's no identity. And when crisis happens, right, there's nothing you can run to and say, we do this well, we're going to simplify it, and that's going to be it. The Chargers don't do it. They don't have an identity, and it's just what it is. So it's up to us as fans to adjust our expectations, right? This is not a Super Bowl team. This is not a playoff team. This is a middling team, who might, be a game away from the playoffs or something like that. But this is not a team that is ready to compete at a high level with anybody. This is not a team that you can, even if they do sneak into the playoffs as a wild card, this is not a team you can be confident can go into Baltimore or Tennessee and beat those teams. Because both of those teams, they're not the greatest in the world, right? Tennessee, Baltimore, they have identities. They both have identities. And we know, we can be 100% sure who is going to be coaching the Titans next year. It's going to be Mike Vrabel. We can be 100% sure who's going to be coaching the Ravens next year. John Harbaugh, right? Unless he wants to retire, which I don't think he does. But we know who is going to be coaching these teams. And we know what they do well. They have developed identities, and that was really the first thing that those coaches did when they got there. I remember being in, I think I was still in high school when Mike Tomlin took over. And I remember watching his press conference after Bill Cowher retired. And one of the first things out of his mouth was Pittsburgh Steelers, run the ball, stop the run. That's what he said at his very first press conference before he even coached a game, before he even coached a practice as a Steelers head coach, right? Now you look at him 16, 17 years later, whatever it's been, right? Now, obviously, they're struggling, but they have an identity. Their identity is to run the ball, stop the run. Now, obviously, they haven't had the right personnel, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, all that stuff, all of that, withheld. The Steelers have an identity, and they've always had an identity of who they are and what they do well and what they pride themselves on. The Chargers have no identity. So this is going to continue happening. I see a lot of, it's injuries and all of this stuff. Injuries happen every year. You have a 100% chance of getting injured, of dealing with injuries as a team in the NFL. It is what it is. This is a collision sport. Guys get injured, but you have to deal with it. And injuries do not stop teams that have good identities. If their identities are established, maybe they can adjust something, X and O, but their identity is going to be their identity. Doesn't matter who's on the field. Doesn't matter if a lineman gets hurt. Doesn't matter if a cornerback gets hurt. Those teams with identities are going to go back to what they do. That is what they do as teams. They have identities. So now, all these injuries for the Chargers, it all seems like everything is really melting down because there is no identities. All you do is rely on guys' individual talent, right? Which is fine for a game or two or whatever. But over the course of a season, you need to establish an identity. And you have to stick to that identity. Everything falls down and the walls are falling and everything, is closing in on you. You got to go back to what you do well. And Justin Herbert's heroics can't be what you do well. It just can't be. You cannot rely on one person to, dig you out of a hole, so to speak. And that's what the Chargers have been doing all 25 games that Brandon Staley has coached. Justin Herbert is not healthy enough to do any of that right now. The offense is not good enough to do any of that right now. There's obviously huge injuries at the wide receiver position. So, he obviously won't be able to, go to Mike, go to Keenan or whatever. It's the walls are closing in. Brandon Staley has shown himself to be a fraud. I made videos about Joe Lombardi in the summertime. A lot of people gave me a lot of pushback. Now you guys are seeing what's going on. There is no identity, though. And this is the huge issue. This is the biggest problem with the Chargers. I thought that Brandon Staley was going to bring in a more physical, more aggressive mindset, more aggressive mentality, a run the ball, stop the run type of mentality. That's what I thought the Chargers were going to pivot into, and boy, was I wrong. I made videos about it in the summer, but I'm wrong. Like I said, I will always come on this channel and say that, if I predict something and I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong. We're in reality. We have to deal with it. The Chargers are going to have 3 really, really big and, very difficult games coming out of the bye week. It's going to be hard. It's definitely going to be difficult. Like I said, adjustments can happen, but without an identity, you're kind of just lost out there in the wind. So I have no no confidence at all in this coaching staff. I was saying I had very little last week, but at this point I have no confidence in the coaching staff. Anybody who is, trying to cheer themselves up and feel so chipper about, what the Chargers might do outside of the bye week, I just look no further than week 2 to 3. The Chargers had 10 days to prepare for the Jaguars, a 2-5 team now at this point, and they had 10 days to prepare, and they got their teeth kicked in by a inferior team right now that we know at this point. So the writing's on the wall, the proof is in the pudding. 25 games in Staley's tenure. When does the defensive genius come out? Does it come out after 25 games? I don't know how long it's going to take for the genius to come out, but it's not there. It's just not there. The Chargers are just not a good team. They are not a playoff team. I don't think they make the playoffs. This is just a team that was really overblown. Brandon Staley was, propped up to be a really, brilliant mind, and that's not there. Offensively, things are not looking well. The only thing that looks really good right now is special teams. They're playing pretty well on special teams, but that's only one facet of the game. They're not looking well. But again, like I said, we have to adjust our expectations as fans. That's really all I want us to do. Just adjust your expectations. Do not expect too much from this team. And if you go into it with that, then you can still watch these games and still enjoy yourself. But the high expectations, the playoff expectations, the Super Bowl aspirations, all that's done. All of that is done for me. It's not there at all. So, I'm off that. So now I can go and enjoy the rest of the season and, just go game by game and enjoy just watching the game of football. But I have no expectations going forward. So I suggest you, if you are a Charger fan, I suggest that you do the same. Just forget about it and, just have fun. Just watch the games and have fun. But that is all I got for this one, guys. Thank you so much for all the support. Really appreciate it. Shout out to all of my new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. Shout out to all my new followers on Twitter as well, too. I'm trying to get more active on there. And Instagram, I'm trying to get more active on there as well, too. So I will be doing more on the social media platforms as the season goes along. But thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow with more content. I'm going to be dropping some more videos. So look out for those. But that's all I got for right now. Thank you guys so much. And until next time.